And Boehner's budget battle, looking like he's asking anyone for ideas now. Those are today's topics for our agenda panel. Sabrina Siddiqui is a politics reporter with the Huffington Post. Igor Volsky is the managing editor of Think Progress. And Bill Scher is a senior writer at Campaign for America's Future. Gang, it's great to have you all here. Bill, let me start with you as we look into Rand Paul on something on behalf of Republican senatorial candidate Steve Lonegan in Jersey. This is the race where Cory Booker is in, and it looks like he has a decisive lead. But what does this say about what's going on in the party with Rand Paul showing up on Christie's turf?
He's showing Christie up. This is bad news for Christie. Christie's already considered suspect by the rank-and-file Republicans because he stood with President Obama in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. It didn't stump for Mitt Romney at the end of the 2012 campaign. Now Christie has been basically keeping his distance from Lonegan because Lonegan's certifiable, and Christie wants to be seen as a sane Republican going into 2016. But conservatives have it out for Booker, Cory Booker, the Democratic nominee. There's a Booker truther moment going on. Rand Paul wants to lead that, and now Rand's coming in and effectively saying, I'm not going to let the establishment tell Republicans who's electable and who's not. I'm going to fight the good fight, and Christie's standing on the sidelines. All
right, so let's talk, Igor, about the examples on the extreme Lonegan positions, because he's out there on food stamps, disaster relief. Why would Rand Paul campaign for a guy that you say is not going to win?
Well, Thomas, I think it just highlights this great rift that we now see in the Republican Party. You have these ideological purists like Rand Paul or Lonegan who believe, for instance, that working mothers don't need food stamps. They can just go ahead and work a little harder to get by. That New Jersey doesn't need any aid after Sandy, or doesn't need that much aid because it can just do it all on its own. We need to shrink the size of government. These kinds of positions, I think, nationally really tarnish the Republican brand when it comes to appealing to the new coalition of voters, African Americans, women. But for Rand, that's his part of the Republican base. That's the base he has to activate if he wants to be a viable candidate in 2016. And that's why he's showing up there, because for him it's really the long game to move the party to the right and to make it ideologically pure.
All right, so meanwhile, everybody in Jersey and around are paying attention to what that state is going through again on their seashore there, Sabrina, because the governor's in the spotlight after this massive boardwalk fire, the Seaside Park Boardwalk, right after Sandy, and they spent so much time getting ready for the summer to recover, and now they have to go through this at the end of their summer. And the governor just spoke a short time ago about the emotional toll of yesterday's fire. Take a look.
It takes an emotional toll, but last night I went home, I showered, I went to sleep for a few hours, and I don't have the luxury of getting tired. This is the job that people gave me to do, and I'm here to do it.
All right, so Bill says, Sabrina, that Rand Paul, he's coming into Christie's turf, making him look bad. Is that just the optics of all of this, or do you think that there will be verbal digs?
I don't think it makes him look too bad, actually, and part of this is, of course, the unfortunate circumstances of what's happening in New Jersey right now. This is Chris Christie's strength. This is a moment for him to once again show his leadership, show that he's strong and resilient, that New Jersey, of course, will get past this new set of circumstances. Hurricane Sandy is, of course, one of the stronger moments in terms of the Christie legacy. So he's not interested in the politics, and he's stood by that. I think this is a moment where he doesn't have to be involved in sort of the petty back and forth within the Republican Party or sort of trying to get the political upper hand, and he's just going to focus on recovery and making sure that New Jersey is back in a strong position.
Do you think Paul, though, is going to take digs at Christie, or just focus on trying to take down Cory Booker for Lonegan's sake?
I don't think he's going to take digs. He actually was interviewed this morning about Chris Christie, and he declined to criticize the governor. He said that he actually invited him out at this event, this campaign event for Lonegan, and that the governor declined, and he didn't really get back into that feud. I think he's trying to just sort of tout his own conservative credentials, like Igor said.
All right, so let's talk about John Boehner, because as John Boehner has now the onus is on him about the budget. We've got a Hill reporter asking him if he had any new ideas to resolve the government funding fight. He said, why don't you give me one so that they can shoot it down too? So give me one idea. That's what he's asking of the reporter. Igor, how helpful is all of this? Because Boehner would say they've already been through this. They've drafted what their stake is in all of this and how they want things to go. It's up to the Democrats to come to the table to play with them.
Well, I think, Thomas, one idea that we could all give to Boehner is to put together a continuing resolution that can garner Democratic support, and this way he can pass it with a majority. This phenomenon that you can only bring a bill forward if it's supported by the majority of your caucus, by the majority of Republicans, it's really kind of a new feature in Washington. You used to have leaders in Congress who would compromise across the aisle, who would work with the other side and really get something done. And that's really what Boehner needs to do. If he's not running for Speaker, if he isn't worried about what comes next in terms of his political future, then putting together a continuing resolution that both sides can agree on is just one way, I think, to keep the government open.
All right, getting both sides to agree. So, Bill, explain how much of Boehner's speakership is on the line here if he doesn't come up with a deal.
Well, it depends how you view on the line. You know, there is a report that Boehner might not run for Speaker again in 2014 because he's so sick of this. He has to decide what he wants the legacy of his speakership to be. Does he want his legacy to be the guy who couldn't keep the government open and doom the Republicans to defeat in 2014 because they were so dysfunctional? Or is he going to be seen as a speaker who made history and got big things done? The only reason to not do what Igor's suggesting is because you're worried about a coup from your own party.
All right, but
if that happens, he could go to... Sorry, go on.
No, well, I was just going to say to Sabrina, though, if he wants to go out on top, Bill, like you are saying, he's not on top right now.
He's not on top, but this is the moment for him to lead. People often pose this question about President Obama, can he lead on these budget battles? But when it comes to passing something through the House, it's on Speaker Boehner to lead. And the reality is that he has to just look at this like it is, which is that his conference, certainly the hardliners, will not be happy with any of these budget deals no matter what the outcome is, because the president is not going to delay, defund, or repeal Obamacare, and that is what they're after, and that's simply not going to happen. So he needs to either broker a deal with the White House. If he's done negotiating with them, like he says, then he brokers a deal with Democrats and passes something with majority Democratic support.
Sabrina Siddiqui of the Huffington Post, Igor Volsky of Think Progress, Bill Scher of Liberal Oasis. Gang, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. And you can always find more from our panel on our website, tv.com.